The name thing, so that she doesn't even know. Everybody else. He's just too young, Janet.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I won't get that much longer, so.
If he doesn't mind rip off.
Yeah.
He was taken so young.
Actually, I wondered about it when we changed the name.
I did too.
Well,
But see,
yeah.
we tested it with our groups and like
They did?
Shannon, I didn't know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, anyway, we're good to go now, right? 1 second more, that's okay, just, that's all it went. Yeah. Then there. And no, she's a figure it should. I mean, I was clear, that's RPL, you know, I mean, it's.
Well, I told
But
you
if
it's
you're
like an
telling-
anagram of RPL. Yeah.
Selling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of those groups.
Maybe they'll see that. Maybe we should mention, it is alcohol. You might really want to, like with the contamination you put in your body. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of has the idea of the guy sitting with the brown
yes,
bottle. on the
brown
road.
bags, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
No,
That's
that's
having difficulty with Zoom right now.
Okay.
You're lucky charm. But did the name come before the otter?
No, we gave the author like a bunch of different ideas and that's what he came up with. I think we narrowed to 3 animals and then the community picked it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Kevin O'Malley.
We're good? Okay, we're good to go. Thank you all for making it on a sort of a dreary, wet day today. It's great to be over at East End and appreciate the hospitality of the staff here at East End for having us today. To start with, I just said I'm going to read this one to get it exact. Garrett Sawyer would like to attend today's Library Board of Trustees regular meeting via electronic means, which complies with the RPL Governance Policy 4.12. This policy is to comply with requirements of sections 2.3-3708.2 C1 of the Code of Virginia to allow for and govern participation by one or more library board of trustees in meetings by electronic communications means. Mr. Sawyer has met the requirements of notifying me as chair in advance that he is unable to attend in person due to a personal matter with his outside employment in the DC area today, and that prevents his physical attendance at our meeting. I would like to call for a motion to approve Mr. Sawyer's request to attend the meeting by electronic means from the LBOT members present. If I could get a motion from someone to allow Gail?
Move to approve.
Okay, and second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, okay, Garrett, you are now with us, I hope.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the flexibility.
Sure. Okay, gonna jump right in. First off, is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda at this time? I don't hear anything, okay. Can I get a motion to approve the March 27, 2024 agenda as submitted?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you, Sharon. And a second? Okay, got you on that one, Garrett. Disembodied voice there. And all in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, nay? Okay. And if I can get a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the February 28th, 24 meeting minutes, the pending deposited gifts report, and statistical reports as submitted. Need a motion? Okay, Barbara, thank you.
Second.
And Janet, thank you so much. All in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, no? Okay, we're good on that. So let's jump right into our agenda. First thing is, I don't see anyone, but I'll ask, do we have public comment? No, okay. So we'll jump into reports, and Ruth, it looks like you're going to do the report today. Thank you. You and Clay both here.
Good morning. You'll see in your packet that there is a copy of the Friends current bylaws, which you all needed a copy of. And also in the packet is the flyer announcement for the Friends of the Library spring book sale, which will be not this coming, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we are looking for volunteers if anybody wants to volunteer. And you can send me a note, catch me after the meeting. And also, I'm glad to report we have a series of people that we are starting to interview for board member positions. A small series, but any further recommendations that you can make would be gladly appreciated. That's it.
Okay, excellent. Any questions for Ruth today? Gonna move right on then to Susan's report for the foundation.
Good morning. The foundation continues to focus on early childhood literacy, children's literacy in accessible libraries right now. And hopefully all of you received our first fundraising email sent through Network for Good. If you didn't, please speak with me after the meeting. If there is someone you think would appreciate getting us communication and an opportunity to invest in early children's literacy at the library, please do let me know. And we would love to engage with them. I have appreciated the time and strategic thinking working with Chris and a number of other individuals on the Library Board of Trustees and in the foundation on ECL. By the end of April, I anticipate that we will have applied to in between 5 and 8 foundations to support our efforts, primarily focused on the summer internships for the summer of 2024. Does anybody have any questions?
That's it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent. Sounds great. And you should have gotten that email. I got that specific email this morning. So on the one that you referred to.
I appreciate you mentioning that. There will be one going out each week
Okay,
until National Library Week. So our
Okay.
big push to individual donors
right.
requesting their investment in some.
Actually, I've got two then. I was thinking they were different, but they were just part of the series. I got
Yep.
one last week and one came in this morning.
Today's is even better than last week's.
Well, it was definitely packaged more visually and brightly. I actually didn't connect. I mean, I sort of knew they were together, but I thought, oh, you were trying a different technique.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So let's move on, Scott, to your admin report.
All right, thanks, Bill. Have a pretty packed report in the board report that starts on page 7. First, I want to bring your attention to the new hires that we have in our youth services department. We have finally completed hiring a children's early literacy librarian. So that person is now on board. Her name is Kathleen Heslop, and she started beginning of this month. So we're excited to have her to really be a driver for this.
Tell us
effort.
about her.
She's from Henrico. She has a long background in children's and early literacy. She was definitely the top candidate of the group that we interviewed. She was a great combination of experience. She's actually done the work. So she's done story time. So she has the nuts and bolts of it,
Oh,
as
good.
well as kind of the overall strategy. So I think she will be a strong candidate in that regard. The thing that I'm hopeful for is that getting the landscape of Richmond early literacy and helping her understand the dynamics of that. And I think she'll be great for it.
Good.
And she has a great mentor. Beth Morris is definitely an expert in it. So that'll be awesome. And then we hired Guinevere Gray. She will be a young adult librarian. We've not had a young adult librarian for about 5 years. So Jen Duell had been serving double duty and is now a library community services manager. So it's nice to have that effort restarted. So she's hired. She's another candidate who has experience in schools and experience with different age groups. So I think she'll be good. And then we also, you're aware that Barbara Booth retired in end of December. We've hired, we've done a little switching around. Danielle Tarullo was hired for the position at Westover Hills, and Haley DeRoche, our manager at Westover Hills, has moved over to Belmont. So kind of a double switch there, but it'll be good. Both have Danielle has great experience. She comes to us from Chesterfield. She's been an assistant branch manager over there and lots of experience as well. And Haley has some really good ideas that she wants to implement at Belmont and experience that she can carry on over there. So we're excited to make that change. I think both branches will really go forward in a new way. So those are the big hiring updates where you just have kind of completed like all of the hiring that we started in November in terms of like getting new people on board and expanding the hours. And you'll notice that with the hours report that the hours are in effect right now. And I noticed the other day when I did the tabulation, we're actually over 500 hours a week. So at this point, we're at 511 service hours a week. So I'm happy to report that. We've added, and I think what helped us with that is we've added some early morning hours. East End here has early morning, West End and Main Library now opens at 9 a.m. So I'm hopeful that we can get more branches open at 9 a.m. because I think we're seeing early morning traffic. And as we get those in place, I think we'll continue to see that. So all good things. Next thing I want to bring your attention to is on page 8, there's a great report from Beth Morris on what's happening in youth services. She's provided an excellent summer reading update, what's happening with early literacy and young adults, and then what's going to happen during the week of National Library Week in children. So April 7th to 13th is National Library Week, and the theme is Ready, Set, Read. I've also provided you another report as a handout here, and that's this one that lists all of the activities that are going on system-wide in adults, children's and young adults. So that's a more comprehensive list of what's going on National Library. I want to thank Susan for putting it together. I think she sent you a email version of it. And also there's a paper version for you all. Last and not least, last night you asked me to provide you a list of the number of library card users we've had over the years. This is a table that shows you going back to 2000, how many library card users that we've had over the years, and so what our holdings are. I've provided you a list of the number of cards we have right now compared to the population. So you'll see back in 2000, we had 85,000 users, and today we have 115,000 users signed up for a library card. Population has grown a little bit, but we've kind of held steady there at about 100,000 for the last over 15 years almost. So I think these numbers show you where we're at. I'd say I think we can do better. And I'd like to see us start doing that with in September of this year is library card sign-up month. So I'd like to see us kick off a campaign over the next year to enroll more people for library cards. It's an easy way for us to promote the library. It's something that's necessary for us to do. Putting a card in everyone's pocket is really the first step, and connecting to our users with that card is a simple way to do it. And so starting in September, we will have a more active and engaged campaign to promote library card use. We're going to look at some other library systems and see what they've done to raise their numbers. And ultimately, I think we should be aspirational about this and try and go for everybody in the city has a library card. So let's go from 115 to 230. Why not? So hopefully you all agree. I don't know if you have any thoughts or input. We can discuss it further.
Well, I am curious about the big drops.
Yeah, it's
Do you know what caused those?
you talking about 2007?
Yeah, was there a system change or something? What happened?
That's a good question. I'm not real clear on that. A lot of times data gets,
They go.
I don't know. I think possibly we corrected things or we purged our records.
Yeah.
I mean, and as you're aware, a library card, we do frequently go in and purge our records. So we have to go in and delete users who haven't used the libraries in over 5 years, people who have not been in contact with us, people who owe us debts that we've written off. I mean, we have to write off debts like other people. I mean, there are people who get into arrears we are never going to collect, so we have to write it off. Some of that is just maintenance. So yeah, I noticed that too. I thought that was an anomaly. I left it in there because I don't like to cover up things. So I feel like this massive data kind of really gives you a snapshot of, or it really tells the story of where we're at. I mean, so, yeah, I can't explain why it went from 131,000 one year to 61,000 the next year. The only thing I can speculate is that we had data corruption.
Yeah.
And then over the course of time, we have, we've kind of gone back and forth but we've hovered around that 100,000 mark. So I would like to see us do better and see if we can get that number up. Ideally, everybody have a library card would be great. So,
And step one for going into the library. I mean,
Yeah.
Sharon brought it up last meeting.
Right.
I'm enthusiastic. Kudos to you
Yeah.
guys.
so I think that's a positive way to go. So
I don't know if there's any way to find this. Do we know of any idea how many households have cards?
I'm not sure how to assess
There's no
that.
way to, I'd say
Right.
no easy way to sort the on addresses.
I think we can do like zip code. We could almost do census tract
Mhm.
stuff. We,
No, that's okay.
um,
I mean, the thing I was sort of heartened when I saw the number at 115, it's like, well, that's half of the people. And you've got children in there who a lot of the time don't have cards, at least below a certain age. And then you have a lot of people who, a couple may share a card, they haven't both registered. So I think expecting to have 229,000 cards is probably a stretch. Okay. I mean, I think if we got 3/4 of the people with them, we're probably covering the whole population.
Well,
Mike,
the standard is 60 to 70% of
Right.
the population. So that should be our aspiration.
that's what I would say. We really should be for,
And as you said, the ability then to look at what zip codes are we not doing bad,
Mhm.
are we doing badly in, and we
Right.
need, it allows us to tailor our programs to reach out to populations
Right.
in a very specific branch directed kind of way.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, let's jump ahead. Garrett, do you want to talk a little bit about advocacy?
I sure can. Thank
There
you.
you go.
And again, good morning, everyone, and thank you for your flexibility again for allowing me to participate remotely. Okay, so from an advocacy perspective, I just wanted to give you a few quick updates for where we are today and where we will be hopefully by next week. So Mayor LaVarstone is set to introduce his budget proposal for fiscal year 2025 today, being March 27th. That will cover from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of next year. One quick update I wanted to give you is that City Council had a meeting this past Monday, which was March the 25th, to determine its priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. And they landed on 5 umbrella funding categories, those being strong futures for children and families, safe and clean neighborhoods, strategic infrastructure projects, planned growth, economic progress, and affordable housing, and responsive, accountable, and innovative government. So for me, the first point, which is strong futures for children and families, fits perfectly into what we're doing every single day with our public libraries. So you may be asking, well, what is going to be our our ask kind of going into this season of budget? One, we want to make sure that we continue the work that we're doing and building even greater levels of access for all our libraries. So we want to strive for a goal of 500 plus public service hours a week. So what does that look like if you break it down? That's Monday through Thursday, we're going to have hours from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Fridays from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then still having select hours at Brown Rock, Inner Park, Maine, and West End on Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. So our grand total for the next year, we want to achieve 29,000 public service hours per year, with these increase in hours. Of course, this is going to allow us the ability to get more on par and be more competitive with our neighboring counties in Henrico and Chesterfield and even Hanover. But tied to this, we also know that if we expand the hours, we need people because, of course, we're not going to be able to man all the stations within the public libraries and put on an amazing program without additional people. So part of our ask is going to be asking for 1.5, probably 2 full-time equivalents or FTEs, which equates to about 15 additional roles. So we, Bill and Scott and myself, we ballparked it maybe between 750,000 to over a mill. Of course, we will give more fine-tuned numbers, particularly after we've had the ability to see what the mayor will propose in his budget today. Ideally, the budget today it would be great if he says we're going to give X amount, and it makes our advocacy lives a little bit easier. But if it doesn't, we will be prepared to make an ask and really good granular in our ask this year. One piece of feedback we took from last year, even though we did get more money, which was great, and we celebrate that. I think it's important that we are very specific in our ask. So, for example, if we're asking for X dollar amount, we need to say exactly what those dollars will be utilized to in the most granular level possible. So once the budget is approved, there's no question, there's no kind of gray area, if you will, of how we're going to be able to utilize those dollars as we go through the next fiscal year. So the biggest thing I want to say is that, of course, we are going to, assess what we're going to get from Mayor Stoney today in the budget. Scott and Bill and myself are going to kind of digest that over the next 24 to 48 hours, probably a little bit longer than that. And then Monday, we're planning to get together, and also we're going to tie in, obviously, the rest of the finance committee as well, just to kind of discuss what that looks like. And my goal is that we want to send out and have a really strong advocacy letter that we're going to circulate at the beginning of next week to everybody. So you can be able to then send that out to your city council representatives and let them know exactly what we're looking for, what that dollar ask looks for, and again, what that's going to go towards in our overall mission.
Excellent. Garrett, I'm going to add, if I can, two quick things. Garrett mentioned the 500 hours. We're above those 500 hours right now. What we're looking at is actually, with the hours that he outlined there, going up to a little over 550 hours. 560.
565.
565, yeah. But we're adding about 50 hours, a little more than 50 hours. So a little better than 10% increase in hours as part of that more accessibility that we're seeing that people are taking advantage of those hours where they're offered. So this is a good thing on that. And then the second thing is Garrett alluded to being more specific. One of the reasons we need to be specific with the council members on the ask beyond money, which we always love to get funding for these things. But we've had a problem in that we can't use the funds for hiring people unless the positions are also authorized. So we sort of get in a spot with, oh yeah, sure, you can pay, you just can't pay someone. You can't have a person to pay that money to. So we need them to actually increase our head count so the personnel doesn't block us on adding 1.5 to 2 people per branch in order to extend those hours. And in extending those hours, we're also looking very much at being able, by extending those, to do more programming as well as longer hours. Because if you have somebody in there, we're adding, say, let's just say it's 10% of the average branch, and we're adding, which is maybe 5 hours. No, 10 hours. 10 hours. 10 hours times 2 people is 20 hours, and we're looking for 60 man hours of people to do those 20 hours. Those 1.5 people, let us be open at those times, and let us also have some of those hours doing the administrative things, the checking out, the manning the desk, et cetera, and freeing some of the other librarians to run programs for kids, to run adult literacy programs, et cetera. So it ties together. We're not looking at 1.5 people per branch just for the hours. Although frankly, we can't do that without that, because you can't open up unless you either go to overtime or full people. So you have that, but we, along with getting the hours, will get additional programs for that money. So Garrett will be putting a lot of that in that communication if we want to go out to the council members. And I would extend that and say that's where we need to start. But I think anyone, community association, people who can help lobby those, want to share this information. The final thing I wanted to say on that is that mayor's budget is going to be released today. We're hitting Easter weekend here. It's probably all going to be finalized by the middle of May. So we've got 4 to 6 weeks to actually affect any change. And we know we'd love to find that they looked at it and said, we're going to add $1 million to the library's operating budget. I don't anticipate that to be the case. And when I say $1 million to the budget, that's above adjusting for inflation. We've had, what, about 5% in employee costs go up, including retirement and as well as salaries, everything across the board has gone up. So we have to get basically 800,000 to $1 million above an adjusted budget. So we expect we're going to have to do that, and we are going to have to hop on it quickly, as far as going out and talking to people, because 4 weeks isn't a lot of time to change it. So, okay, Garrett, anything else you wanted to add to that? I didn't mean to.
No, that was great. One thing I was going to add to one point you made, Bill, is about, getting the community involved, our civic associations and other community associations that may be out there that are equally as invested into the public library. So there is two actual public engagement opportunities related to the budgetary process that will take place in one in April and one in May. The first one's going to be Monday, April 8th at 6 p.m. There will be a public hearing on the mayor's proposed budget during City Council's formal meeting. And if anybody is interested in actually being able to speak towards their love of the library, sharing testimonials, they can absolutely do that during that meeting, and they can pre-register to provide their comments. I think they have to put their request in by 12 noon on April 8th. And then there'll be another opportunity closer towards the end of the budgetary process, and that'll be on Monday, May 13th at 6 p.m. And then there'll be another opportunity council is allowing for a public hearing to discuss about proposed amended budget legislation as well.
Excellent. That is very important. If people can come out to that, if there's things they'd like to say, that would be great. Thank you, Garrett. Any questions for Garrett? Any comments? No? Okay. Chris, we'll jump over to early learning literacy.
I'm gonna pass this round.
Okay, well, I think there's a really good summary of what's going on in that, and it's impressive. I'm gonna tell you, you read that and think, wow, this it was nice to see it that way. Jumping in from the board perspective, board chair perspective, some things that we're going to talk about next month, but I wanted to bring up. Okay, Garrett has very well covered the 15 employees and the rough number. We'll talk about that more later. Facilities, wanted to talk to y'all at some point about the branch infrastructure issue again. And nothing that we're going to get into too much today. When we talk about budget, one of the things we are thinking of asking for is capital, being in the capital budget, to commission a study of the branches. That may take a while to get done even. And of course, the main renovation is the big one that we're looking at down the road, and we don't know where we may stand in the CIP right now on that. But I would like to suggest that we plan on trying to get capital budget money in there, but that as a start to that facilities and all of us may come together and come up with sort of what do we think we need in a branch in general, so that we can give someone who's coming in to do that study a little bit of an idea of what we think. Not necessarily the perfect branch, but a branch that is more than adequate. A lot of our branches right now, we have to, candidly say, did a good job of renovating them in the space that they had and the conditions that they had. But that some of them are woefully undersized and inadequate for the community that they're serving now, as we see circulation going up and door counts going up at a lot of the branches. We see areas that weren't residential becoming residential and more, once again, Belmont's the one that springs to mind on that a lot of the time. West River Hills has got a lot of growth now again. Bond Rock is getting some that it has a little more space around it possibly, but just something I think we need to start looking at that. And I'd like to tie that to something that I know Brent has been really looking out for us, which is opportunities at the branches. He's mentioned a couple of possible things in the area of the Belmont branch, and we're not ready to do anything. I guess what I was saying is I really like to see, before we get into next budget year, that we've put our thoughts together to the point that if something were to come up opportunity wise, that we have something we can go to the administration and say, look, somebody wants to do something with Belmont and there's a church on this corner that really is having trouble keeping going. Maybe we can, move into the process quickly, because the normal capital budget process for the city is so long that it's really hard for us to react to opportunities that come up. And I think we just need to be able to I think we probably missed some already, but anyway, so I wanted to bring that up.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is this going to be fixed on our 9 locations, or are we also looking at where do we need to create a new presence?
Yeah.
Because you've just talked about existing branches.
We need to
Is
look.
that all we're looking at, or are we also looking at a library system that serves the city as
Yeah.
it grows?
We need to look at that expansion,
Okay.
and it may not even be more branches. It may be better location of them. And it may be more branches.
Okay,
Um,
okay,
But, I'll look at, as an example, using Scott's addition, growth again and Belmont, maybe something moving a few blocks would
right,
make a big difference. I don't know. We want to stay within that easy walking, good public transportation distance of all of our citizens. So that's becoming an issue as things spread a little bit more. And with that also is, and Gail's leading the mobile library concept. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but I'll mention again that we see this as something that we probably do not want to try to get capital funding from the city for. We have the non-mobile branches and Maine to deal with on that. That at the same time, we're getting more enthusiastic response from people, and you talk to people about the idea of the mobile branch. So what we want to really look at hard is ways to raise funds for the actual vehicle or vehicles, depending upon long-term on that, and then look for the city to fund the operating expenses of it. Because I think we should be able to find some people who may be willing to fund the vehicles. And we've talked about it as sort of multi-purpose. There's also been some discussion in ones with different people about maybe more of a pop-up library and a steam vehicle that aren't the same vehicle. So, that's getting aggressive. We start with one and use it for everything, but I think we have to recognize maybe a need that's a little broader on that even. Again, those are the main things that I had from the board perspective. I will mention Emily is not here today. She really wanted to be. Something came up work-wise and she couldn't, but she, as always, is on top of things and let me know as soon as she knew, and said that basically everyone who's coming up for reappointment has gotten the paperwork in, with, I think, the exception of Garrett. But he's doing that, right, Garrett?
I did it earlier this week. We're good.
Okay, thank you. So we've had everyone whose term expires in June, paperwork's in, and that should move along. And I think, unfortunately, Ms. Burton's not going to be able to re-up because we're only allowed 2 terms, 2 appointed terms. So Emily is working on finding someone who will, I won't say fill Barbara's shoes, but be a shadow at least to Barbara, fill-ins there a bit. So she's working on that. And I'll mention that at the June meeting, we will be electing board chair and vice chair, who will then appoint committees. We'll look at restructuring the committees, whoever takes that, whoever is chosen for that position, those 2 positions. Okay, and that's pretty much what I had. Garrett, do you or Scott have anything on finance? I'll mention real quickly, the budget, if you've looked at it, it's starting to come back in line. We actually were underspent a little bit because of anomalies in the way that money could be spent in the city, but we seem to be getting the things that we're looking for, taken care of. And then we always see some fluctuation in that. It's not a straight line, because when you buy books, when you do this and that, it's not. But anyway, we seem to be pretty much on track with the budget for this year. And if there are no questions about that, I'm going to throw over to Janet to talk about facilities.
Well, Scott has some big ideas about the main branch. And I appreciate
Excellent.
your interest in all the branches
Right.
that, we looked at them all last summer and had thoughts. It'd be nice to get some actual, something to happen from all of that
A
stuff.
little bit of a mini version of the KEI Steinberg.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, the three big things we're working on is Maine. So getting Maine, we have areas of the library that we need to update and, address some floor plan issues. We have an immediate need to get the memory lab upgraded and installed because of the Mellon grant. We have some funding that we received in the past for a young adult space. So we have funding there. It'd be nice to find a right place for that in the building and provide a space for young adults. So we'd like to pursue that within the next year. We've talked about a Friends bookstore. Where could we put a Friends bookstore? So getting an overall plan of like a revised floor plan of the building that would address these needs and help us put them in the right places and also fill some of our other needs is something that we're looking at right now. And that's just kind of like, if you've ever bought a new couch for your living room, like what size do you want, where to put it, what color? That's kind of what we're going through with some of our spaces. So to put it in simple terms, that's kind of because we want to make sure we're put that in the right spot and it's going to be there for at least a while. We could be 10 years away from a new main library, 5 to 10 years. In the meantime, we need to be doing something with the current space so that we can meet the needs of what we want to do. Now, that all could change. We have an election this year, so that all could change. But for now, let's keep working the CIP plan the way we were instructed by the city process. But also we need to work with the spaces that we have at Maine. So that's the big thing for Maine right now. Bill mentioned a system-wide plan. We need a master plan for all of our branch libraries. So we need to look at the city, the 65 square miles of the city, and see where our existing library branches are. Are they the right size? Are they in the right neighborhoods? Do they have the things we want? Those are three big questions we need to answer in that master plan. And if there are areas of the cities that are growing that show that they could need a library in the next 10 years, I think we should consider where that might be. So that's what a master plan would do for us. And that's an ask we need to get into the CIP plan and let the city fund that for us. And then the last thing is the thing that Gail's already started on, the mobile library program. So depending on how it goes, what we need, it could be a small vehicle, it could be a big vehicle. So that's what we're looking at. So we're building the capacity to begin those outreach efforts and then determine what vehicle we need. So
Are there ALA or other organization guidelines of you have to have a population that is this compact and this size in order to warrant a library? Do we know that answer, or do we decide it for Richmond itself? I mean, is there a best practice standard out there?
I think there definitely are standards.
Okay.
That's why I would want an architect with the expertise to know what those standards are nationwide, but also be able to look at the data locally and determine based on what we have here existing and help us assess that, determine maybe that national guide works in this instance, but it doesn't work in that instance. So I would highly recommend, that's why we would have somebody with that experience come in, because we can look at it and we can guess. But again, I'm not an expert on these things, and an expert will be able to tell us that. So that's why I would do that.
And Chris, I might mention that one thing that we as a board can do, we can visualize what we think a branch should do. Because while there are standards and there are lots of information you can get on that, we've taken an approach, we being the board going back 100 years ago, they've taken the approach really of very accessible branches, close to the population as much as possible, and relatively small branches that have functioned as minimal meeting room, collections that can access the main for that and so on. So our branches, for example, are very different than Henrico's branches.
Mhm.
You know,
No,
they're,
as they should be.
right, they are. We have a different population, we have a
Right.
different transportation. It is. So we have to think very specifically to Richmond and cities more like.
I would actually argue that. I would say there are very similar medium-sized cities
Right.
in the country who might be ahead of us in thinking through their library
So
system.
that's why I was saying.
We
Richmond,
should not say we're oh so different and we
Mm-hmm.
have a unique answer without surveying like-minded
Right.
organizations, because a good idea adapted by
absolutely.
Richmond.
Yeah.
Since none of us, except for maybe Brent, Janet and Gail, are particularly well-grounded in this area, I think we do too much personally figuring it out ourselves before we do our research.
There are a lot of cities similar to Richmond,
Yeah.
size-wise, that we
Yeah.
can, and
Well,
urban
yeah,
nature.
There's some, yeah.
No, I mean, there are a lot around the country when you look
Yeah.
that are. You
And
know,
some of them are ahead of us.
oh, absolutely,
So-
absolutely. So, no, I was just saying, we need to differentiate between, say, Richmond and Henrico or Chesterfield, just
Oh,
because.
that I agree with. We're a
Okay,
city
yeah.
system.
I mean,
I agree. I'm
But there are others in the
enthusiastic
state
with that.
even that
Yeah.
are similar in their,
Yeah.
the needs and so on, so. Anyway.
Well, I think that's what the facilities committee is working on. So we're gonna, I have a proposal I'd like to share with them to help us kind of assess the main library. So we're gonna discuss that in the future and talk about these things and come up with a good plan for how to proceed. And you bring up some great points. Yeah, there are lots of great library systems out there doing amazing things. Again, that's why I want to bring in an expert who studies those things more in depth. But there's a lot of things we can do before we bring that expert in. So you're right.
Yeah, and I think going back to this, where I was thinking where we were, Scott's comments about Maine, Memory Lab, so on.
Team space.
The team space, a couple of the other areas there that we have to move forward on some of that. But we really want to move forward in a way that that doesn't create an issue as we get Memory Lab where it should be, and then 18 months from now say, now we want to use that Mary Morton Parsons funds that we've been sitting with on young adults. Oh, we were sort of bumping over the Memory Lab. So
Or we are going to renovate Maine and here's all the.
or we may be right. So we need to get
Yeah.
some ideas on it. So at the next meeting, I think we'll have some things to talk about there. You talk to the foundation facilities, but I think, you know, in general, Scott alluded to it, and I'll put sort of a name to it. I think we're looking at a little bit of a Maine modernization versus Maine renovation. Okay, that we're looking at how do we do internal work there that is primarily reusable, so that we're not, you know, spending a whole bunch of money to do something that when renovation does come,
Yeah.
it's wasted, but that allows us to actually properly serve the community for the next 5 to 10 years before that would happen. And that is necessary to do Memory Lab. It's necessary to do young adult properly and so on. So anyway, we'll go into that more at next month's meeting as we have gotten more information that Scott's working on. So, okay. Governance, I talked about what Emily had there. I think that's about it. I don't have any unfinished business. Scott, do you have anything on there? Anything anyone thought of? Any new business anyone would like to bring up? Yeah, Sharon.
I'd just like to know well, I was real pleased to see some things going on with outreach. I was really pleased about that, and the trivia night and things like that, and VCU, my alma mater. But I'd also like to add, if possible, that we make a concentrated effort to hit the Hispanic population in Richmond. I'm not familiar with specific places, but I know the Sacred Heart Center is kind of a hub, and they would be able to help direct, efforts in that. I mean, Southside, with Hull Street and Belmont Branch, they're not easily accessible for up Jeff Davis Highway. I'm telling you, So that population is truly kind of, you know, all on their own.
Mhm.
And I'd really like to see us make a concentrated effort to get up there and, you know, touch
It's a good
that
idea.
population. And also the PTAs, you know, PTA can get the word out to all the schools and, you know, get all those children signed up. And also, I want to commend the maintenance staff for these buildings. I've been in numerous libraries and they're all clean and welcoming spaces. They are very well maintained, you know, that makes a difference to me because I'm not gonna come in anywhere that's dirty and, you know, so, you know, I commend them. I had a question about, I know we've added loaning out blood pressure kits.
Mhm.
How is that going and how is the laptop checkout going?
Some of our branches, they're using the laptops and checking them out all the time and they barely stay in. So that's going well. The blood pressure checkout thing, it only started in April, at the beginning of, end of February, so kind of seeing how that goes. I think we're seeing some use, kind of moderate use of the blood pressure monitoring station, so you know, it's great to collaborate with the community. I think the thing that it helps us do is get the message out and help us raise awareness on these health issues and wellness issues. We had a wonderful meeting at the end of February with the American Heart Association and our partners that helped us develop the program. And everybody was pleased with the impact we're making with that. And so, again, the blood pressure checkout kits have only been in business for about a month, so hopefully they will continue to increase in terms of their usage. But I think the key thing is it reminds people when they walk into our spaces. American Heart Association did a really nice job of getting something that catches your eye, and you may not use it, but now you've been reminded that blood pressure is an important health thing to monitor. So I would love to see more people use it. I think they will eventually. So I think it's a great point. So I'm hoping that it takes off and we'll have it everywhere. So, but I believe people can check them out from anywhere. So if you put a hold on it at one location, we can place a hold on it and send it to another branch and you can just check it out.
Okay.
So.
I'm gonna mention that big bad word. How are we on censorship? Are we getting anybody requesting any book banning or, you know, anything of that nature?
Yeah, it's interesting. There was an article, I forget where I saw it this month. It might have been in RVA this morning or Axios. It was talking about book banning. Hanover's been kind of the epicenter of it, and they've had a lot of issues. We haven't received any requests, like formal requests, to remove any books from the collection. And I have to say that we've done a lot of work with our branch managers and librarians on how we talk about books with people. You know, someone will come up and say, I don't like this book, and we have a conversation with them. It's when and oftentimes we help them understand that there are lots of books on the shelves that I love. I personally love. There are lots of books that I personally hate, but our job is to make books available to everybody, regardless of whether we like them or not, or whether we agree with them or not. And that's the role of a public library. And I think in general, our users, our library staff and our community is really behind intellectual freedom and right to read. So we haven't had a lot of that. I mean, I think you recall we had the book banning bus come and visit the main library last summer, and we had our delegates were out. Delegate Hashmi or Senator Hashmi and Delegate Carr were at the library talking about how they support it, support freedom to read. We even had Ann Holton at the library talking about how our library had helped her raise her children and how the diversity in our book collection was met their needs. And so I think we strive to make sure that we have something that's going to offend everyone. And so if we can do that, we're doing our job.
You know, and we do have a policy.
We have a
On
formal
that.
policy, so if someone wishes to bring a book to our attention and have it be for consideration, we have a whole policy where we walk through and we we're very thoughtful and we try to do our best to be considerate of people's concerns.
And Sharon, my view on that, just personally, is that we've been able to stay sort of above the fray on that, and we want to try to stay there. That the schools have a different situation. And for multiple reasons. One, it's the population and the control, and two, it's the limited libraries they have. You know, we have the ability to have books, as Scott said, that will offend everyone. You know, different books that'll offend each one of us maybe, and different ones are all gonna like, and no one's being pushed to any of them. So it's really, when you look at most of the complaints that are getting out there in the press, they really come down to school libraries much more so than public libraries. And we want to sort of keep that. If the city has the problem in the school system on it, I mean, we just stay, it doesn't apply to us, okay?
Good.
We should be able to stay very open on what we have in our collections. I wanted to mention, Sharon, I thought you brought out a great point, that outreach and engagement, and I didn't highlight it, I think Scott had alluded to it on page 7 there. I think this is the first time we've seen this per se, in this format maybe. And I think it came out of last month's meeting with the discussion. This is just representative of what this fantastic library staff, the teams in each of the libraries, does every month. This isn't, oh, we brought it up, so now they're suddenly doing this. This is really, they may be more aware of it. I think they're more aware of letting us know about it than anything right here. And I was impressed, you know, you mentioned Broad Rock, that one down there mentioning that the Cardinal Elementary night and also the Sacred Heart. This wasn't because any of us brought it up. They were already doing that. I think it's great that they emphasize it, look for even more opportunities like that. But I don't know, I guess I just wanted to say that I really think that the branch management in our different libraries really is well connected to their individual communities and does a nice job of trying to get us out there. So ideas, I think, are always welcome by them. Okay, they're happy to hear ideas of how about if you go to this or that event. So, okay.
And I was very pleased to see about the daycares, get them in early.
Yeah, that I was surprised by. And because I didn't know we were doing that. And that's actually a phenomenal effort to go to that many of them. That's not, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some real legwork that's gone in there.
Speaking of daycare, the VCU daycare, one story times, where is that located?
I believe
Or do
it's,
they want to come to the library?
I'd have to get with Craig and ask him the details on that, but the VCU Child Care Center is that one on, I think it's on Chamberlain.
It's right off of Chamberlain.
It's right.
Chamberlain and Hoboken.
Okay.
Kind of sits back
Kind of
off
hidden.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's in that one.
It's right across the street from Benny Lambert's whole house.
Okay.
It's right in.
It's so street.
I think they used to be a Reggie Emilio program, if I remember correctly, and they would have folks, it was a mix of, I think it was like faculty childcare and hospital childcare for people who worked in those areas, but they also had they allowed community members to participate in the childcare. I'm not sure it continues that way. I'm not sure how many, I don't know the details on it, but that's one. It's nice to hear that they're reaching out to the public libraries. Hopefully we can get them all library cards.
Okay, any other new business? Sharon, that good point you brought up there. Any others? Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn that.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Again, second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Yeah.